some members on their way, but just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and open us with a word of prayer. Senator Kirkpatrick, if you don't mind doing that for us, please.
Thank you. Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day in Georgia and for the opportunity to work on behalf of all Georgians. Give us calm and strength and energy to get through these stressful times. And please hold our people in uniform in the palm of your hand. In your holy name, amen.
Thank you. All right. Chairman Cooper, did you need something?
No, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to go and
Well, that's very kind. So I'm sure he would love that. So I have special guests, Chairman, and I have my father, Larry Walker Jr. He served in the House from 1973 to 2005, technically. Well, I think January the whatever in 05. 32 years. He was House Majority Leader 16 of those years. And his good friend, who also served in the House, is with us today, Judge Bryant Culpepper. He served from 1975 to 82, I think. Then got elected Superior Court Judge for the Bibb Circuit, Macon-Bibb Circuit, and is a senior judge now, also a retired colonel in the Georgia National Guard. But y'all welcome my guest, if you would. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
All right, 1, 2, 3. We still need one more. No, 1, 2, 3. All right, good. All right, now that we have a quorum, thank you, Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
It's that time of the session.
Yes, sir.
We will call the meeting to order, and we're going to start off with our illustrious House Insurance Chairman, Lumsden, and he has already presented only last week. He's going to just give us a brief synopsis, see if we have any questions, and then we'll see what the will of the committee is.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Chairman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is House Bill 984 substitute. We're working from LC 520528S. As you mentioned, you've already heard this bill. I will simply hit the highlights. This is a Department of Insurance bill that addresses 4 issues that are of importance to the department. Section 1 and 2 sets the framework for off-duty use of the department vehicles by post-certified officers of the Department of Insurance. Third section deletes the section of state law that brings us into compliance with the NAIC model law dealing with small cap life insurance companies. Section 4 provides for electronic delivery of health plan documents and other notices as default, providing certain conditions are met and the insured does not opt out. And Section 5 requires insurers to waive the age requirement for dependents with a developmental or physical disability and allow them to remain on or be added to the parent's policy. That's the essence of the bill. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, any questions from the committee? All right, I will recognize you now, Senator Kirkpatrick.
At the appropriate time, if this is the appropriate
is.
time, I'll make a motion to pass to the substitute to House Bill 984.
All right, have a motion to pass. Have a second from Senator Merritt. Any further discussion? All right, a motion is second to pass House Bill 984 LC 520528S. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passed unanimously. And am I carrying this? Who's carrying this?
You are, sir.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Glad to do it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Wade's not here, is he? All right, next on the agenda, Mr. Wade's, I think he's, I don't know what, he's presenting a bill or something. He's in another committee, so Representative Williamson, House Bill 1049, and we have not heard this one yet, so,
Is it all right to bring Michael Shelnut up?
yes, sir. Just introduce yourself, Michael.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm here to present to you today by Senate substitute LC 520544S, House Bill 1049, which is known as insurance transfer. Bear with me. What do we call that? Insurance Business Transfer Act. And quite simply, as the title of the bill implies, this bill will allow insurance companies to rebalance their risk if they want to by selling a block of existing business to another insurance carrier, which incidentally would have to be domiciled in the U.S. This is model legislation that comes out of the National Council of Insurance Legislators called NCOIL, and it's got sufficient guardrails around it. It comes without objection from anybody in the industry or the insurance commissioner's office. Work closely with them. It would have to be approved by the insurance commissioner's office. It would have to examination of the books of business. It's got guardrails to protect any hanky-panky going on that might affect our state's insolvency pool. And in final validation, it would have to be subsequently approved by Superior Court in Fulton County. Happy to answer any questions, but what it'll do is allow insurance companies to rebalance their risks when they need to. For example, they might be too heavy in one line of business and need to offload it to somebody else, somebody that might be looking for to balance their book similarly in the other direction. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. That's a good job. I did not realize that an insurance company under current law can't sell, in Georgia anyway, a portion of their book of business. They have to sell the whole company or not at all. And that's what I've been told, and this will allow, this new bill, if it passes, will it allow an insurance company to sell a portion of their book of business to, as you said, rebalance their portfolio or kind of change strategic direction. And there's language in here to protect the state guarantee fund from any kind of adverse problems that would result from this. I think the insurance commissioner, Ethan, are you here? How could I miss Ethan? Stand up, Ethan. No, seriously. See what I mean, Daddy? How could I miss him? But you all are good with this, and we've talked about it. So with that, I'll open it up for questions from the committee. Any questions? Mr. Shelnut, introduce yourself and add to, if we left anything out, or add.
Mr. Chairman, Michael Shelnut, I work with McGuire Woods Consulting, and we worked with Chairman Williamson to bring this bill. Like I said, it's an NCOIL model bill. It's been passed in about 4 states. We think it'll make the state more attractive to companies that possibly may domicile here. So we're just trying to get in line with more states that are doing stuff like this.
Okay. All right. Any questions? What's the will of the committee?
Move to pass, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to pass, a second from Senator Harbison. Any further discussion? And this is LC 520544S. Any, all those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, it passed unanimously. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman,
sir.
members of the committee. Would you be kind enough to carry this, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to have Chair Lady Cooper, House Bill 1125.
Is it all right if I have somebody from UGA join us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Doug Randall, in case you want to ask some questions. And I have Charlotte Dinsmore with the Georgia Old Council on Disabilities.
Okay.
Okay. I think everybody is very appreciative of you hearing this bill, and I certainly am. What I was going to try to go tell your father and just see if he remembered when I was a freshman 28 years ago, so they were like this, I thought I could pass a bill that would rewrite our stalking law. It was pretty ambitious for a freshman. And my second year, I managed to do it, but it came with a lot of help from the Democrat leadership. I was a Republican freshman in a Democrat-controlled House, and I am very appreciative of the help you gave me then, sir, and have always been since that time. So just wanted to tell your dad that.
Thank
and
you,
see if
Chair
he-
Lady.
Time they did that, and when I went over to tell her I was going to try to move the bill, she threw the bill at me and showed the bill and said, if you get it out of the House, you bring it over to the Senate. And of course, when I got it, as soon as I got it to the House, I made a beeline for the Senate and said, I got it out now, will you help me? And she did help me at that point. So thank you again, sir, and I'm so glad to see you and wish you well. Thank you for hearing House Bill 1125. I was pretty shocked when I learned, just accidentally, that in our state there are a few companies left that could actually pay disabled people 22 cents an hour. This is a very old federal program from 1938, was originally done for veterans so that they could be trained to go into industry and do manufacturing jobs. Sort of waged into something very different, and many of these, and there were about 80 of them across the state of Georgia, of these training centers, ended up not training people to go out to live among, the general population, but they ended up being, and I don't want to call it a sweatshop, but the images where a group of like people that were disabled would get together and would be paid a minimum wage and would not be encouraged or trained to go out. We're down to just a handful of these now, and they've slowly been phasing out. There's a program with the federal government to help them phase out, to offer money to the company, and to just make sure that we don't have any more companies that are on this 14C exemption through the federal government that could be allowed to pay such a sub-minimum wage. A lot of research has been done over the years, and they found out the program didn't work. It didn't help people get trained for more, not challenging jobs, but more jobs for which they were readily able to do as disabled individuals. And so that's why it's being phased out. And so that's the essence. This phases out the program. It's done over a period of time for the few that are left. And there are people that are highly trained to help them see how they can get grants for the government to help them phase out. And really, they can actually do better phasing out these programs and paying people a better wage by doing that. So with that, I would like to ask the committee for favorable passage, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you have, or with help, I would.
Yes, ma'am. So we were able to meet on this, you and I and your administrative assistant. She was very knowledgeable and helpful on this. If you want to introduce her.
Sure. This is Leah.
I'm the intern, actually.
She is my
Okay.
college intern this time. Thank you.
Well, you'd make a good administrative assistant.
If she would, she would make a good one if somebody is.
Or a
looking
good
for
lawyer
somebody.
even, but
And that's her goal is to go to law school. And I have been very fortunate to have Leah. This time I can't sing her praises enough, and except that she's learned not to let me push her around the Capitol. We had a little accident the other day. And so anyway, luckily she survived. It was my fault. So
yeah.
I would, not that she couldn't push her own self, but I was just trying to give her a hand, a little relief from pushing it all over the Capitol. I won't do that again. So-
And then I met with Mr. Miller. I don't know if you were planning, did you sign up to testify, or was there any?
I did not say I had to testify, no, sir.
But he was very educated me on this issue too. So you have, I call them sheltered workshops that were well-intentioned
Right.
to allow people with disabilities to a lot of times do piecemeal type work. Most of them have evolved to where they are partnering with industry or businesses or government agencies in the community to have the folks working out in the community like everyone else, side by side, everybody, and most of them have gone over to that. I think we determined there was maybe the handout that's the committee members have shows 8, but one of them is already in the progress of transitioning out, and then maybe even a second one. So we're getting down to maybe possibly 6 within the next year. But they're allowed under federal law to pay sub-minimum wage, and so this is a good measure that I don't think is gonna. My only concern with it is I don't want to have people lose the jobs that they have, even if they're in a sheltered workshop and piecemeal type work, because there is value to that. But I'm assured with the federal grants and the University of Georgia's program that we're not going to see that happen, and the industry is kind of, if you want to call it that, is sort of embracing this, it sounds like to me. But anyway, any questions from the committee? Do y'all want to add anything else
I
to?
mean, well,
Not
I
at
would-
all, not at all, thank
okay.
you.
No, I would like to say that of the handful of the 8 that we had, there were a couple, and even said, I know we should be doing this, but we'll just wait till you make us do it. I mean, sometimes there's a little resistance like this, and this does not apply to, it's this one specific group of people working on this 14C waiver, and it does not apply to other areas out in the public domain. It's just this one group of people.
And
going in.
speak to the phase in. Looks like July 1, 2025. They would then only they would have to pay half the minimum wage, and then after July 1, 2020.
But what the goal would be what they were set up to do originally, is to train people to work in jobs outside a sheltered workshop, to actually encourage them to do. And I think that I heard on the news, and it of course caught my ear, is that they were saying how much the employment went up. And they actually said a third of that employment was from disabled individuals coming into the workplace. And so I think in the past there has been a misconception of what disabled people were able to do. It's sort of like children. If you set low expectations for children, that's what you'll get. If you expect higher expectations, you will normally get them. It's one of our problems we've had with some of our students in our schools with having low expectations set for them. It's the same way with people with disabilities. People have low expectation for what they can do, but they are quite capable of doing much more with training and then going back and being part of the public and the general population.
All right, thank you. All right, any questions?
Can anyone tell, what is the difference between sub-minimum wage and half minimum wage? Is that something to be said, or just from my student?
Senator, is the question sub-minimum wages versus minimum wage?
Yes.
Yes,
No,
the-
and half minimum
Half
wage.
phase in.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. So, well, we would just take that and we would have that for half of minimum wage. In other words, the bill asks that we phase that in. We'll be training these providers. We have right now at advancingemployment.com at the University of Georgia a request for assistance for any of these providers, these organizations, to enlist us to help. So it's mirrored after the 15 other states that have already phased out sub-minimum wages, knowing that there might be an adjustment in that business model as people go from sub-minimum wages to half minimum wage and then, yeah. to
Well,
full-
how low, if I may, do you understand what I'm, the question?
I do. Yes, just to clarify, so most of these organizations are currently paying less than half of minimum wage, so this would be an actual increase in the
Okay,
wages.
I just-
So it's a gradual
I get
increase
it.
over time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Excuse me. What's the will of the committee on this? Motion do pass, Senator Merritt. Second, Senator Harbison. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, the bill carries unanimously.
And I, thank you very much. I think that Senator Eccles asked that, and should be allowed to carry the bill. And
Okay.
I think that would be great.
All right, very good. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman.
Very
Thank you.
All right, we're making good progress here. House Bill 935, Representative Vance. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As somebody that's been a law enforcement officer for 50 years, I am honored to bring this Back the Blue Act to this committee. It did pass the House 169 to nothing. What it does is that individuals can voluntarily contribute $5 to the Back the Blue Fund when they purchase a tag. That money is collected at each county tag office and sent to the Department of Revenue. Beginning January 1st, 2026, the Department of Revenue will distribute those funds to the Georgia Sheriff's Association, who will then distribute the funds to each sheriff in each county in Georgia. The sheriff will distribute, I know I've said distribute a lot, but again, I'll use it. We'll distribute the funds in the form of a bonus to post-certified personnel within his or her agency. The sheriff is not eligible for these funds, and this bill will sunset on July 1st, 2029. It may go through the process earlier than that and extend it on past that, but as the bill stands right now, it will be in effect really for 3 years. They'll start collecting in 2025 with the initial distribution starting in January 1st of 2026. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Representative Vance, this bill looks eerily familiar to me.
Well, it should, sir, because you've worked on it for years, and I'm honored to carry it. Because it's a revenue-generating bill, it has to begin in the House, and I'm honored to carry it.
Let's don't go there, because we could argue that. I mean, it's a donation.
It is, sir.
It's not a revenue bill, but this is Senate Bill 110
Yes, sir.
that I introduced last year, and I passed it out of House Motor Vehicles with a unanimous vote at least 3 times. And they sent it back to House Motor Vehicles, and it's been in House Rules 3-4 times. They recommitted it to House Motor Vehicles this last time, and now it's Senate Bill 110 is a bicycle safety bill or something now. But anyway,
Well, Mr.
we
Chairman,
do not want to,
Okay.
pride of authorship, we don't want to stand in the way of helping our sheriff deputies. And again, this is the help the sheriff deputies, not the sheriffs. and it is a strictly voluntary measure for the citizens of Georgia to give them an opportunity to back the blue and show their support for the fine men and women that protect us at the Sheriff's Department.
Well, sir, again, I'm honored to, okay. I know you have a question, but I would like to say one thing. I'm new at this stuff. I don't know all the verbiage and everything yet, but I'm honored to carry this bill as a law enforcement officer and the former deputy sheriff. And I think this is a chance to give the people of Georgia a chance to help county law enforcement in Georgia. And I think it's a wonderful bill, and I'm honored to do that.
I'm glad you've taken it up. Clearly, I couldn't get it done.
In our caption of your bill, it says motor vehicle standards for a conviction through the use of speed devices. Is that, did your bill change significantly in the House?
Yeah, yes, sir. It certainly did. It changed from, it's kind of like the bill he had that became a bicycle bill now. The bill that I had has become the Back to Blue bill. So that's how it took place, and again, I'm honored to do it.
So this doesn't have anything to do with
No,
that?
sir. No, sir.
Would you be receptive to a friendly amendment to rename this the Senator Larry Walker III Back the Blue bill?
I certainly would, sir. No problem with that whatsoever. He's worked very hard.
I appreciate that thought, Chairman, but if it means sending it back to the House, I'd just rather not. Thank you very much.
Good move.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say, isn't it true that around here, we don't have pride of ownership, it's just getting the work done?
That's right. That is right. All right. What's the will of the committee?
Move to pass.
Got a motion to pass. Got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? No, it passed unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Will you carry this?
I'm familiar with the bill, so I'm happy to carry it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, has Mr. Wade made it back? This is oh, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Any word from Representative Wade?
He's on his way right now. They're just finishing a vote in education.
Does anybody from the governor's office or anything want to explain the bill?
I'm happy to.
Yes, ma'am. Go, if you're familiar with it, that'd be good. We got two that are fixing to leave.
Well, Representative Wade should be there. Should be here in a second, but I'm Christine Hayes. I'm Deputy Executive Counsel for the Governor's Office, and Representative Wade is the sponsor of House Bill 1114, which is the Data Analysis for Tort Reform Act. This bill is the first part of the governor's multi-year approach to civil litigation reform. Anecdotally, insurers have left the Georgia market and others have stopped writing business in Georgia. And so we are looking to understand exactly how Georgia's tort liability system impacts the insurance market and what we can do to mitigate those effects through legislation. Since liability insurance, as many of you on insurance know, is a fundamental part of the American tort system. Without insurance, it's much harder for a plaintiff to recover. And everyone, plaintiffs and defendants, need a robust insurance market so everyone can have insurance and access to liability coverage if they need it. So what this bill does is it instructs the Department of Insurance to collect data from Georgia insurance companies on how they assess tort-related risks in the state. The Department of Insurance, as the state's insurance regulator, has the authority to collect this data, and this bill permits them to share it in a confidential, anonymous way so that insurance companies are not publicly forced to share that information, the confidential material and trade secrets that often are sent to the regulator in the state. And that's on lines 79 through 94 that covers that information. The bill also permits the insurance commissioner to consult with state agencies like the Department of Administrative Services and to collect data as it applies to the state's liability, and that's on lines 75 through 78. If you go further into the bill, on line 132, the bill instructs the insurance commissioner to submit an initial report to the governor's office, the House Committee on Insurance, and the Senate Insurance Committee by November 1st of this year. So the commissioner may request data and produce additional reports through July 1 of 2029. So the bill is relatively simple in the way that it's structured, but we're hoping that it will give us the most accurate data to explain the state's insurance market in certain lines like commercial auto and commercial general liability, and ideally stabilize rising insurance costs for Georgia consumers and businesses. So if you have any questions, my colleague Sam Hatcher is here as well, who's also Deputy Executive Counsel in the Governor's Office, and hopefully Representative Wade will be here shortly, but I'm happy to take any questions in the interim.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Chairman, committee members, I'm very sorry.
Yes, sir.
We're voting on a very important Senate bill right now in the House Ed. So I apologize.
Your colleague presented it, I think. Now we got the questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is on line 96, where it says no later than July 1st, 2024, the commissioner is going to request the information. Is there any idea, is it anywhere in the bill when that information is going to be due? Or that's up to him? Because obviously if we were going to move forward on anything related to the data gathering, we'd need that before the next session.
It is up to the insurance commissioner. They will produce a report of all of the data by, I believe it's in the bill, I think it's November 1 of this year. So ultimately, they'll put out what they call a call for data, and we'll have an NCAP date that the insurers have to provide that to them, and then synthesize and analyze all of it. Obviously, in advance of that November 1st deadline, so we can produce a report to you all.
Okay. Senator Cal.
Just in looking at our summary, it appears that the commissioner has the authority to request this information under the current law. Am I wrong about that?
They do. To request this information, they can. What they don't have the ability to do is to produce it in a report to the governor's office and to you all, and to synthesize that data. So the trade secrets and the names of all the insurers are wiped out, and it is aggregated per certain lines of insurance.
My next question is, as I understand the bill, it's going to be calling on these insurance companies to give them actuarial data as to how much their costs are increased or whatever by the civil justice environment in Georgia, by the various rules of evidence. I think you're asking for an impossibility. I mean, how could a company possibly be able to accurately gauge how much higher their settlements were or their judgments based on any specific provision of law? And I think all of us know instinctively, if an insurance company is a named defendant, there's a direct action against them, then the jury's going to be more likely to award larger damages in that case than one where they're not named. But how in the world could they ever discern that in an actuarial manner to report to the insurance commission? I've worked for years on phantom damages. Cases where plaintiffs are able to ask for the retail price, so to speak, of their medical bills instead of the amount that was actually paid by an insurance company, whoever. Nobody keeps that data. I mean, I do insurance defense cases, and I don't report back to a company, well, here was the amount that was covered by insurance, and here's the amount they're asking for. In court, there's just not a data set that you would have to create an entire new reporting scheme and then run the math to try to. I just don't understand how you can expect that the companies could ever comply with this mandate in a meaningful manner.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So I am a community banker by trade. I do hold an insurance license that I've not, I actually let it expire. I had it for the Great Recession in case the entire banking world was kind of under stress at the time. So I studied and delved into this issue, and I can tell you what I have seen and what I've heard from insurance companies, both small and large, that I know and have affiliation with over the last 10, 15 years. And I believe that they are actually actuarially calculating, and this will give us the bifurcation between the cost drivers that have pushed insurance up due to inflationary pressures that we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years, as well as the information that they're using based on their different claims and the actual payout. The insurance companies do keep a record of what they pay out on certain cases of certain types of situations. Now, they don't necessarily want everybody and their brother to know, especially if it's a settlement situation that is also a component. This will give the opportunity for those companies to do so in a protected manner. And I'll give you this. I had a conversation actually this morning at 7:20 on the way to the Capitol with an insurance agent that has a client that has 2 companies in 2 states, Indiana and in Georgia. They have vehicles that are commensurate with a F-150, for example. That's their company trucks for their employees. In Georgia, that cost for them, just for the property and casualty, is $4,000 per year per vehicle. That cost in Indiana is $892 per truck per year. And his estimation was that at least 80% of that difference for his insurance company to price it for the premium to be set is based on drivers from tort that have caused them to price that in the risk associated while those trucks are on the roads in Georgia, dealing with all of the different risks that insurance is trying to cover. So to me, being able to stratify and bifurcate those costs, I think it will be very important and useful to guide future decisions to get the balance between what is, as the Rotarians like to say, fair to all concerned. What can we do to do that? And I truly think that this will be it'll be a task. I don't disagree.
So,
but I think it's worthy.
I get that. We can compare us to Illinois, South Carolina, whatever other states, and we're going to find we're a judicial hellhole. Their insurance rates are lower. But what you want is policy advice. What laws can I change in Georgia to rectify this imbalance with other states? And I don't see how them telling you we're paying more out in Illinois than we are in Georgia, or vice versa. I don't know how they can say this is due to a specific rule of evidence, this is due to direct actions, it's due to premises liability rules here. I know you're going to see that they pay out more here because we're a much more unfriendly environment for businesses in the litigation world.
Right.
But I don't know how you're going to take that data and say, okay, we're the most expensive in the Southeast, and know what law to change to fix it, because I don't know that they break it out like that. Am I wrong, or can they?
I think the point of being able to get this information is to not necessarily say anyone is wrong or right. It's to actually drive factual data that is both qualitative and quantitative to determine the areas of where those, what components are they pricing in a type policy for a type of business line. I could think about medical malpractice. I can think about slip and fall. I can think about phantom damages. I think there's a major discussion that we need to have on Holt. All of these are separate components. I do think that this is going to be useful to be a data point that is going to drive it, and they can give, okay, if I have as a aggregate total amount of claims and losses or payouts, and it was this dollar amount fed into this type of auto accident or this type of tort, this situation that occurred, and this was either a settlement that a jury decided, or if it was an agreed upon settlement between parties, which happens a lot if there's an insurance company involved. What were those insurance? And there's enough of those situations where I think the insurance companies are going to be able to provide information because they want to continue to be competitive. They're pausing in Georgia. They're not completely backing out because they believe that we still are a great state to do business in. But this is a risk that has just been completely, I just don't think we've tackled it. And and it's very complicated. So to me, this is one component. It's not the only piece of information that I think this committee or any committee or the whole House or the whole Senate would need, but I do think it would be valuable to do, and that's why I'm, advocating for us to take this policy position and help the governor and help the insurance commissioner be able to provide us more factual information and be able to drill down in a serious manner. So I'm definitely not going to say you're wrong. I want us to find how we can get things right.
So along those same lines, I think there's definitely going to be some value from getting this data, and especially the information that insurance companies would otherwise want to keep confidential as a trade secret. I think that's going to be very valuable. But to Chairman Cowser's point, I've worked with actuaries before. They look at aggregate numbers. They look at claims history, what was expected, what actually happened over a trend line of a lot of years, and then they try to project what's going to happen in the future based on that aggregate data. I've never known them to drill down and say, well, we paid out $1 million on this claim because this law is on the books. Had that law not been on the books, or if the law was different, we would have only paid out $800,000. I don't think that's what actuaries do now, but I do think there's still a lot of good value, and if they're doing that, I mean, I do know that insurance companies, like a lot of industries, are using some very sophisticated computer modeling and artificial intelligence, and that's also trade secret type stuff. But as far as giving us advice on how to change the code, I don't know that I think we're gonna have to interpret their data and come up with those solutions as a legislative body. I wouldn't expect an actuary to have that for us, but and I don't think that's what you're saying really. But
well, I'll say this: I've got insurance companies, agents, actuarials that I've spoken to that are hopeful that they can provide insight in a private manner to justify what the difference is, and then use the laws that are in certain states to say, we believe with a preponderance of evidence that in this state, because this is how this area of tort is looking at, this is why we're able to price through our loss history this premium compared to a law that may not exist in Georgia, and we see this outcome. So I do think that there is some extrapolation and information that the insurance commissioner is going to be able to use the data to drive. I don't think we know what we don't know, because that is trade secret and they're not going to tell us.
Senator Harbison.
Just a small question, and when you were making your presentation, I didn't hear what we can't get. You said we can get the information, but we can't get. I just missed that from my ear.
Sure. The insurance commissioner can ask for a lot of this data already.
Right.
What they can't do is give it to the legislature and aggregate it and scrub it of the trade secret information and the names of the insurers that are submitting it, because a lot of them don't want their competitors to know how they're assessing certain risks.
I just hear that. Thank you.
And so that's what we're looking to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Looking for a motion. Got a motion to pass. Senator Kenny, second Senator Kirkpatrick. Further discussion?
I'm going to support your bill, because anything to advance the ball even an inch helps or might help. But I want to caution you guys, as we develop, hopefully, legislation, that the word around the Capitol is that the Georgia trial lawyers were laughing with glee when they persuaded you guys to delay any tort reform and to base it on statistical data because they knew there is no such data and there's no way to calculate such data. And if you do, it's going to be challenged that, well, how do you know this is an evidentiary rule versus direct? To peel out all the entire civil practice code to be able to say this will reduce my insurance rates by X amount is something that they know can't be done. I'm with you on the bill because any additional data we get has to help some, but I just, that is my hesitation that this is almost like a destined to fail type thing because you're asking the impossible. My fears, hopefully I'm proven wrong.
I hear you. I have a personal motto, which is blessed beyond measure, sharing the possible. And I believe that if we get more information, that, you know, they may be laughing for certain reasons. I can't speak to that. I'm built to block and tackle. I think we have the idea of rugged incrementalism to figure out to take these in bites, especially as you look at each individual area that I discussed earlier. It's going to be a lot of work. The work is not going to be 1 year. It's not going to be 2 years. It's going to be every year. But I do think we can compare ourselves to what other states are doing, and there are a lot of brilliant folks.
All right.
I think we can do it.
We're going to let's go ahead and see any other questions. I'm going to call the question on this. All those in favor of House Bill 1114 LC 520417-EC, please raise your hand. All right, all those opposed? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe Senator Kennedy is going to carry this in the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
We don't have anything else on the agenda. I'm going to have my next meeting, listen up, it's going to be on Tuesday the 19th. Be looking for the notice on that. Tuesday the 19th, and then if we need to, we'll have another one on Wednesday the 20th. But thank you very much. All right, bye.